I'll just put my timer on as well. Okay, so my name is Elizabeth Hobman, but everyone calls me Liz, and I work at CSIRO. And over the last year or so, I've had the fortunate experience of working on the Protect project, which some of you may have had a bit of an insight into earlier today with Jen Loader and Angela Dean's presentation. So the Protect project, just very briefly, it aims to monitor stewardship that's occurring in the GBR region. And when I say stewardship, I'm meaning those community stewardship programs, activities, initiatives that happen and might actually be performed by individuals and organisations as well. Okay, I should just mention that the project is funded by the Reef Trust, Great Barrier Reef Foundation Partnership, and also supported by Gurrumpa. So we have a very close-knit sort of team, and it's been a really great experience working with everyone. So I thank everyone who has been involved so far. Okay, oh, click up. Okay, so this project is very interesting in that it's aiming to deliver a very practical tool that will be used by people on the ground and also by those working in Gurrumpa to make decisions. But it actually wants to have a really strong theoretical or conceptual foundation to it. But at the end of the day, we want it to be a tool that actually can be used by people. So we started this project by doing a conceptual piece to have a strong understanding of what reef stewardship is. And then we also followed up with a set of interviews with stakeholders who would potentially use the tool. So we're actually developing something that means something to people. So this slide just sort of outlines what that practical stewardship monitoring tool is intended to do. It will actually automatically collate information, say from the web. So it's supposed to be very automated and not require a lot of user input and, manual time and resources, so that, people are free to do actually the reef stewardship and not have to input data into this tool. So we have QUT, they have the smarts in artificial intelligence and machine learning, and I believe that's just kicked off as we speak, where they will be actually developing this stewardship monitoring tool. And maybe this time next year, they'll be presenting the work to you and showing that particular tool. Obviously, there will continue to be engagement with people, not just this user interview phase that I show you this morning. It's a continual conversation. Okay. Oh, this just gives an outline of the overall project. So I'll be presenting just some little snippets from the first two phases. As I mentioned, we did a conceptual piece which involved a literature review and also the user needs analysis, which was spearheaded by Sam Stone-Hovicic at CSIRO. Okay. So we started off by looking at the Reef 2050 plan because we wanted to make sure that our monitoring tool was going to align with the Reef 2050 plan objective for stewardship and also the indicators. And what I guess we were struck by first is the diversity of indicators there. The objective clearly does state it's an action, so individuals and collective action to help the reef. However, we've got a multitude of indicators there, and I guess that signifies to us that stewardship is a big system. Okay, it's not just looking at the stewardship action at the end of the line. We need to also look at the factors or the enabling conditions that can facilitate stewardship to actually occur on the ground or around in the home. So in the actual, we do have reports to each of these pieces of work as well, if anyone's interested, which go into a lot more detail. Oh, sorry, that was my take on applying our psychological sort of language to each of those indicators. So you can see it is quite multidimensional. And we wanted to make sure that in our conceptual framework for this tool, it would also be multidimensional too, but that it would actually map out the pathway of influence in a sort of theory of change mechanism. And you'll see it. You actually already saw it this morning, but you may not remember. So yes, we did a literature review followed up by a set of stakeholder interviews. And then we also looked at what has been done before. So we didn't want to recreate the wheel here. A lot of work has been done in this space in developing conceptual frameworks for reef stewardship and defining what reef stewardship might be. And Grabumpa has already written this report, and their review was quite narrow in its focus. That's why we followed up with a broader review. However, I really like this diagram. It's very simple, parsimonious, and can be directly applied to the evaluation or the monitoring of stewardship programs on the left. And you can see there's a diversity of stewardship programs that actually are in operation and how they actually are intended to influence reef health outcomes and also outcomes for people who live in the reef region via that sort of big black box in the center there, where they're trying to encourage or promote the enabling conditions and encourage stewardship action to occur. So this was a really useful start for us. And when you see the framework at the end, you'll see that it actually sort of can align well to this particular simple representation. It's just like this is more like an aggregated model up, if you like. We unpack the middle section a lot more. Okay, so we came across Bennett's framework, which is fantastic, very systems focused and very comprehensive. So you may have come across Bennett's framework already. If not, yeah, I'd strongly recommend. It's an easy read. And certainly for us, it sort of reinforced the importance of looking at those enabling conditions, what needs to happen in the entire system to facilitate stewardship action. The only point of departure, I guess, in how we wanted to monitor stewardship is we wanted to recognise that there's a range of different stewardship programs out there, not only those that stimulate on-ground action. And in Bennett's model, he really defines stewardship as on-ground action that actually has that environmental impact or has a social impact. But we wanted to be more inclusive of other forms of stewardship action, not just only those that happen on the ground. And certainly in other conceptualizations of environmental stewardship in the literature, we see that it actually is more inclusive. It's not just things that happen on the ground in terms of restoration and preservation. Education is important to increase people's knowledge and awareness, and eventually that can feed down the line to stimulating on-ground action. So in the middle panel there of this particular model, we have the more actions there articulated. So we wanted to represent that in our framework too. And sort of in a triangulating way, the pro-environmental behaviour literature also has created these categories here. So it gives us that confidence that, hey, yeah, we are actually on the right track here. There are different classes of stewardship action. So that's how we mapped it accordingly. From the pro-environmental behaviour literature, they additionally included those behaviours that occur in and around the home. So as long as there is an intention to help the reef, we wanted to also include them in our framework too. Oh, that's just a summary. I think I can skip over that, otherwise I won't get to the model at the end. So in terms of the end user interviews, we did 51 interviews, which was quite an undertaking. And we represented those groups there, so the full spectrum, and we're hoping that conversations will continue as we develop the tool and really get people involved, because we want to make sure that these people will actually use the tool that we eventually develop. Some of the findings, people really wanted to use the tool as a connection point to know what's happening where. Just makes sense. I guess that happens organically, but this might enable people to actually, stretch out of their own little local boundaries and go, well, what's happening up north and south, and actually, increase the social fabric of stewardship, if you like. Also, they saw it as a way, I'm going to run out of time, as a way to provide evidence of the outcomes or the impacts of what they're doing, the stewardship programs, and that would be important for future funding, for instance. This is our draft framework, which you would have already seen this morning. So you can see it actually really aligns well to Michelle's model, or Grabumpa's model there, with programs at the top, feeding through the enabling conditions of motivation and capacity, and also simply providing opportunities for people to engage in stewardship. and then leading to those different stewardship action categories on the right, and ultimately to the outcomes of improved reef health and benefits for people living near the reef as well. Next steps. So we are now kicking off developing the actual monitoring tool. And QUT is really the ones who have the know-how in that regard. They are AI ML specialists, and they will somehow be magically scraping the web to automatically download this data. I don't know how they do it, but it's possible to populate this particular tool. And I'm imagining it will be very visual. It'll be perhaps like a spatial map with different filters. You could filter down. And maybe in the future, we would be able to also represent those reef health outcomes as well. So you could see some degree of alignment between stewardship programs and sort of benefits that are happening as well. Also the team, the broader Protect team, the UQ sort of portion, they've done some additional work with communities on the ground in actually helping them with their monitoring and evaluation efforts, if you like, because they're so busy doing the reef stewardship, they needed assistance in actually knowing how to show evidence that their stewardship programs are making a difference. That's me. Thank you. This is everyone on the team.